if you have a space with just women, you don't have to wear makeup, you don't have to worry about your appearance. There's not this gaze on you, so you can just hang out with women. And that's a space I don't think men understand, because the world is, the world is, for men, really. So they're the ones taking up the space in our world. So it is nice when we are around just women. We're soft, we're meek, we're
I'll
quiet.
close my eyes so that my male gaze doesn't mute you.
Chad. Here's an example, Chad. You see how the little laugh emojis? This is genuinely funny. This is out of obligation. This is to because we know that you expect a laugh after that. It would be awkward if we didn't laugh, and so we give you a laugh emoji, even if we don't, even if it's not funny. It's just having a man.
Cheese, you're fun.
The simple answer is yeah. The simple answer is that like having a man in a space, even just one, completely changes it, changes the social dynamic, and men dominate.
I think, and for men and most women, they don't actually consciously ever think about this unless they come into like, unless they're aware of it, like they come into into some sort of feminist readings or whatever, or where they can actually articulate, because it's actually really hard to articulate this whole feeling. Men are not walking around feeling the fucking literal gaze of men
How can you know
looking
that?
at your ass. Hey?
How can you
So,
know that?
know what?
What you just said. How can you know that men can't feel that?
I, because they know it. I think they can know it, but they can't understand what it's like to be the object of it, or to be the subject of it. So they can definitely know it. Lots of men, great men, write about it. They get it on this, like they can empathize with it. They can know it. I'm not saying that
I'm so
they
triggered. I'm like full on shaking right now.
so that they are so, but they can't like uh oh, how do I say, I can understand racism. I can understand its shit. I can imagine what it's like to walk through the world and be viewed through those eyes, because I'm white. But I can never like fucking, it's not ingrained into my psyche, right? It's just, so that's why you can understand these things and know that they're wrong and not okay, and you can be really passionate about them. But understanding what that, and it's just another level.
Okay, how can we know about the male gaze? Now, again, this goes to kind of feminism 101 about gender. Our gender is a social construct, and a feminist analysis would say it's a hierarchy. So masculinity obviously trumps femininity, and these are constructs, but also we internalize these constructs, and we're swimming in these constructs. Just like two fish don't know that they're surrounded by water, we don't see all the gendered cultural references that we're surrounded by. And that's what feminism teaches you about the gendered hierarchy and the male gaze and how that affects women's psyche. And we learn that very young. Now, the real definition of gender identity, I mean, the real definition, the psychiatrist definition of gender identity was when around 2 or 3, when a girl and a boy know they're a girl and a boy, and they know the social constructs that pertain to being a girl or a boy. That's like that. But also, we know about that from such a young age. So,
And
yeah.
we also think it's developmentally like appropriate too, don't we?
Yes. Oh, like gender
Yep.
identity in terms of knowing you're a girl or boy is obviously, Yeah, of course, that's developmentally appropriate.
Mm.
Developmentally, it's a developmental milestone to understand that. And then, of course, um, queer theory has changed that a little bit with what their definition of gender identity is. It's sort of this innate feeling you have, which goes against what a social construct is. So feminists have an issue with their analysis of what gender identity is. That doesn't mean mean
Mm.
obviously that doesn't mean that gender dysphoria isn't a real diagnosis. Of course it is, and it has interesting. I mean, it's always been there. But I would like to think that if we live in what feminists talk about as being a gender abolitionist, did I say the name? Did I say it right? Society where we abolish gender, then
Mm.
gender non-conformity is not something to look down on, and it would be freeing to both sexes. So
Can I ask
But
a
yeah,
question?
that doesn't mean,
yeah,
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 go
yeah.
for it.
So, in my life as a man of Middle Eastern appearance, the overwhelming majority of racism that I've experienced and the more aggressive forms of racism have always come from white women,
We're
right?
talking about Karens. Okay, I've got a lot to say
No,
Yeah,
about
but
that.
see that's
not even
interesting that you would
surprised.
say that. That's interesting that
Not
you would
even
say that
surprised.
because when the grievance is unrelated to your own, you have a justification for it, which is, oh, they're
No,
just Karens.
no, I don't. I have a massive analysis on that. Um, okay,
Oh, you go then.
yeah.
No,
Neither.
can I
No, I
respond to
want to.
that?
I want to respond. Can I?
I didn't get to
Um,
explain my point, but that's
Oh,
fine.
okay. Go.
yeah,
Yeah, I
let
think we
Chad
should let
finish.
Chad finish what he's
Mm.
saying so that we can understand what he's bringing forth here, like the nuance of it rather than just the soundbite of it.
So then growing up with that experience, and the funny thing is I feel kind of stupid trying to explain this to people because I'm 6'3", 105 kilos. I'm a big figure, but I become like a sheep if I walk into a room that's full of white women. And it's like you're saying, it's one of those things. So the thing that triggered me, I wasn't joking before when I said you triggered me. What triggered me was you telling me that I'm incapable of feeling that kind of unconscious prejudice when my whole life I've experienced something like that. And I just think it's just so offensive to assume that another individual, by virtue of their sex, is incapable of feeling such a deep hatred and prejudice based off their own experiences by virtue of your own grievance. I mean, that is just moral relativism 101. My pain is mine, therefore it's greater than yours. So when you explain what you were feeling and the whole idea of the male gaze, I can 100% relate to that by virtue of my own experience. So that's why I say, how can you know that? Why would you assume that by virtue of your own experience, that precludes others from having a similar experience or experiencing the same level of prejudice?
So I don't think it can. So that's what I meant by saying I can empathize and cognitively understand and feel enraged and on someone else's behalf. I can't claim to know what that's like, but I can certainly know that it's fucked up and
It's very
wrong,
similar to
right?
what you
So
described.
yeah, so that's what I said. Like, so that's what I said. Like, I can be very, for example, passionate about and cognitively aware of racism, for example, but I can't claim
I
to
didn't say
I can
racism.
like
I said racism from white women.